Hey guys, it's Leila here from Ignite and I am here with Jonny. And we've got a bit of a different clip for you guys today, not our usual tutorial content-based video. Instead, we're getting into the sentimental aspects behind how we came to form the partnership of Ignite, the friendship behind it, the timeline, the sleepless nights, any unanswered questions you guys might have about our relationship. We've got it all coming for you.
Yeah, gonna have to hold back the tears in this one, could get sentimental about how this whole thing began. But a good place to start is probably how we actually met, Laos.
Yeah, and nostalgic location as well.
Nostalgic location, we're at Sydney Uni here. That's where we met. I'll tell you guys a funny story about how it happened. It was basically facilitated, our friendship, our relationship was actually facilitated through a mutual friend.
That's right.
We'll call him Jim, and to protect his identity. And Jim had a crush on Leila, right? And Jim was also my friend and still is a friend, right? So Jim was speaking to me one day, and in the background he has been, pursuing Leila, and I don't know the extent of it. Leila can speak to that, but he had a crush.
I don't know if he had a crush. Anyway,
you had a crush on Jim.
Oh, I don't know if I had a crush either.
Okay.
There was a thing happening, uni fling, maybe.
Something happening in the background, and Jim says to me one day, he's asking about tutoring, because I do a lot of tutoring, or I was doing a lot of tutoring. And he said, geez, you remind me so much of Leila, right? So Jim's telling me this. He goes, Leila, yeah, this is this girl I really like, that I'm into. And he says, yeah, she's the only one I know who does comparable hours. In fact, she does more tutoring than you. Yeah, and I go, who is this person who does more tutoring?
How dare someone love tutoring as much as I do, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's my I thought I'm, number one in terms of quantity of hours of tutoring. But I was intrigued because he was saying very nice things about Leila, and he was saying, yes, you should meet up with her. I'll facilitate the meetup because she's super passionate about teaching just like you are. So it was really that he saw the passion and he thought of Leila and he said, you guys should get coffee. And that's actually how the whole thing was created, wasn't it?
That's actually true.
We had coffee in a Taste Cafe. It was at Sydney Uni. Yeah. And do you remember this? We were sitting there.
I do. I remember it vividly. It was a group thing, actually. I think I initially met you in the group setting.
Oh, perhaps. I'm thinking of the one-on-one coffee.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
do you remember this?
A long meetup, yeah, but Taste. I don't want to ruin the flow, but I think we should say we're not being endorsed by Sydney Uni in any way. We're merely just sort of talking about the history behind it. Ignite, Jonny and I, we're not affiliated with the university in any way, but just part of our personal history is the fact that we happen to have met here. So just wanted to flag that because we have other anecdotes that relate to that as well that we might not get into.
True.
But my point being, no misrep, we're not being endorsed by Uni at all. But we did have our very first coffee at Taste.
Yes, we had our first coffee. That's where we properly met. That's where we formally met.
Yeah.
We had a great conversation. We were talking about what we like about teaching students, especially ones doing the HSC, what our views are on how to teach effectively, exchanging things that we see in students and like our perspectives on this. And we really got along and just hit it off, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I thought Jonny was super, super cool in the sense that he just had this love for teaching.
Well, thanks. I said the same about you. So there was a great energy and a great shared passion for teaching. I think that's what we'd say. And we felt just purely aligned in terms of where we could potentially go with this, right, as a partnership. So even in that first meeting, we were already starting to think about maybe presenting workshops, if I remember correctly. It was as early as that meeting number one.
And that's how it really started. It wasn't so much with the resources or the YouTube channel. In fact, Jonny was very instrumental in developing that part of the business. He really took the lead in that way. But we did start off with running workshops. We ran lectures for HSC students. And if I recall correctly, I actually did them. I had been doing like a smaller scale sort of one. And
you mentioned that at the coffee, and I was loving the idea. I'm like, that's exactly what I've been planning on doing.
Yes. So then we started making plans to run those. We would run lectures. We would have a lot of students or a lot of people that went to our old schools with a first sort of intake at these workshops that we did happen to run at the uni at that point in time.
But no longer run at the uni.
No, because we're not affiliated with the uni.
That's right. They do their own thing. If you want workshops, you're going to go outside to Ignite's venues.
That's right, yeah, beyond the university. Anyway, we ran the workshops and there was just such an awesome buzz I felt when I was teaching with Jonny. Like for the first time, there was someone who had the same sort of teaching style. Obviously, we're nuanced in the way that we teach. I'm a little bit more rigid, and that I think comes across on camera as well, whereas Jonny is very chill, very engaging. But one of the things that the students loved the most at the workshops were we would give them like a resource booklet as part of the workshop, which had analysis on the texts. And the students students found those to be just juicy. They loved them.
They were juicy. Can I pause there before we come to the
Yes.
resource? I just want to reflect more on the first workshop
Go
because I
for
think
it.
about this. So before we talk about how it evolved into anything else, right?
Yeah.
The first workshop was so exciting. It was like this dream of mine at this point. It's not like I've dreamed since I was a kid to do this, but something in me, like maybe in the last couple of years before we met, really had this desire to speak and kind of inspire in front of students, right? And to do it in the context in which I knew, which was, tutoring and to do with school. That was what we were familiar with. So it made sense. If we were going to speak and teach, it was going to be on things that we were, familiar with or, not experts, but we had a very familiar knowledge of.
Yeah, I resonate with that. In fact, when I was doing my HSC, and I guess a little anecdote for you guys to take away from as well, I would run workshops for my cohort. And I would have like my whole year group come together, and it was just a really nice point of bringing the cohort together. And I obviously loved English in high school, and that kind of gave me the taste of how it was to bring a collective group to teach, to get into the content, and to do it in more of a social sort of fun way. It's different to the rigidity of a classroom environment because you've got young people teaching, and I just loved the vibe of it, and I felt it really came to fruition when I was teaching with Jonny.
Yeah, that's right. And look, for the first workshop, felt very supported by people and parents from my old school, for instance. We had a lot of those people come in, and we had groups of about 15, if I'm remembering correctly. 15 to 16 students would come in the room just to kind of zoom in on. Yeah, very intimate. We always wanted to be practical in what we were doing, and we wanted to have that student feedback experience where they could actually hear back things. And we still do that today. But we had that vision from the outset, and that's what we were aligned on. And it was so exciting when we were up there doing it. It was this surreal feeling. I still remember it. It was so surreal doing that first workshop. I mean, like, this is the dream. I felt so alive. It's funny thinking back to it now. I get this nostalgic, and I just was like, wow, this just feels right. And I remember telling you it on the day as well. This feels amazing. This is so surreal.
It was really cool.
This is like the dream thing, like just lecturing on this stuff, that we've been teaching all this time. Now we get a group where the teachers, it was really empowering.
Yeah, and I just think, I hate to make it English-based, but the rubric back then was for discovery.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And the text that we were teaching, the first one was Che Guevara.
Motorcycle Diaries.
That's right, and a lot of the sentiments there about new experiences, forming new relationships, and I kind of felt, in a nerdy kind of way, the text was conducive to how I was feeling teaching.
Very meta experience.
So, very
we
meta.
were discovering something as we were talking about discovery.
And so were the students.
Yes.
So anyway, there was that little...
So yeah, such a buzz, and we're like, as soon as we did the first, I think we had pre-organized like 3 workshops. We had 3 different classes coming in for that same workshop, and from then on it was just a no-brainer to keep going with it. And we'd often run them at school holidays. But an important part of this was what Leila was saying before, and you can go on with this, was the fact that we didn't just go up and lecture, we also gave the students these resources.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously we had our prepared content for the workshops, and the content there actually speaks to the structure of the resources themselves. We would start off by introducing the rubric, do brainstorming exercises with the students, go through context and form, and then we would do the close analysis, which is what students love the most, like how to actually deconstruct parts of the text, take apart the form and the techniques, the stuff that I really love teaching. And then we would go through the essay construction. And these were big days. Like some of those workshops were 8 hours.
Oh, yeah. Long days. And we eventually actually tried to do 2-day workshops.
Yes.
Eventually we came to that. We got student feedback. We're like, maybe it's good for them and for us to do 2, like 3 or 4 hour slots.
We would get like just so into it, and we would be teaching for sometimes like an hour and a half with no break. And the kids are just sort of like, we need a break now. Because we would just get so into the flow. But I would have to mention distinctly my favorite module to teach back then was Metrop 84.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I
no, we're agreed.
In fact, Flynn, our videographer, came to that workshop, who is actually filming right now in a meta sense.
Yes, he was filming. I think.
Yeah, you did. There you go.
Free entry.
Yeah, okay. So, it was pretty cool in that way. We started to just develop relationships with certain texts, and it went from there. But yes, the resources were complementary to the workshops, and they had the most important feature in there really, in fact, I remember it was A3 folded in half, the resources. You'd open up to the middle, and that's where the tables of analysis were.
That's right. Big Office Works printing sessions.
Yes.
I'm thinking back to the days I would have these little connections with... I would form these friendships with the people at the printing counter and get like 90% or some ridiculous value.
There were certain Office Works that we would avoid because they would overcharge for the printing, and it became a whole thing. The printing was just a thing.
Printing was a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
We're online now, but these were the days of the A3 fold.
Yeah, in fact, back then we would even mail the resources to students who weren't able to attend, right? There was like the physical copies as opposed to what we have now.
Yes, that's true.
But point being was the kids loved the resources. They loved the analysis in there, the depth and the color coding in terms terms of linking to rubric and so on. And that's then, I guess, what segued into the next trajectory of the business.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was the practicality we always had as the number one priority, right? We wanted to make resources that showed exactly what would be in the essay, how things would be analyzed. And as Leila said, we're going very in depth. Students were really liking this, and we got such great feedback that I knew we needed to go a little bit more all in on this resource aspect, something scalable. The workshops are fantastic because there's nothing that compares, in my opinion, to the live experience, to that intimacy, that interaction with the students, the mentorship, and it has to be face-to-face. Virtual for me is just not the same, right? When it comes to these kind of workshops, face-to-face, that is the zone. That's where I get into the, what some people call a flow state. Really feel like that. I could go for 6-8 hours. I wouldn't have one thought in my head.
It's like meditation in a way. There's nothing else that distracts you, but also the collaborative inside of the students as well. The fact that they're also mixing in with students from different schools, I think is so important with the workshops because they get insight to how different schools are teaching certain aspects of the syllabus and so on, and that's just so enriching for the students.
Exactly. And they get to meet students just in that in itself is beneficial, but not that we had like a big social hub going on. It was pretty studious.
We did some social days, remember? Didn't we do like some?
We did do a social day. Tangent here before I go into the resources. Coming back to when we were starting with the resources, there was a time after a while where I think you might remember this. We were walking through one of the buildings, right? And I pointed to the room, and it was a big lecture hall. It was we'd normally been doing them in rooms, and I said I want to do a big free lecture. Like this is like the dream had expanded, right? Because I just wanted to be up there in front of people. And I said I want it to be free, and I want to have a full room of students who come in, and we'll do this for them, and we'll get DJ going, and we'll do a lunch. I don't know if that's the one you were alluding to, but
I am. We didn't take it that far in the end.
Well, we did have the DJ. My brother DJ'd.
We did that, but it wasn't like what you were expecting, like a 9
I think what you're saying is it failed in terms of that part of the day because we had the DJ. My brother came in and kindly DJ'd for us on the lawns. I thought this is going to be the sickest thing ever. And literally, as soon as we finished the lecture, everyone just went home. So my brother's there DJing with literally no one from the actual seminar there. They were all left. We were talking to them, but they were left. And then, it was just people who were around, just by chance that got to actually enjoy it. He was on for an hour. We paid and spent the money on the venue hire and that. And look,
was a good turnout for the actual
there's no
workshop.
complaints. It was amazing. There was, from memory, there wasn't like hundreds. From memory, it was like 60, 70. It might have been up to, actually, no, sorry, it was 100. We had 2 sessions.
That's right.
We had a morning. So we had over 100 students actually come that day.
Yeah.
So, a lot of fun. I mean, anything else come to mind when you think of the social days, or that's the kind of thing you were?
That was the main one.
Yeah, that was funny. I distinctly remember that memory as well, because that was like the next level to the dream, right? But anyway, everyone's loving these resources. We were printing them out, and we said, okay, let's make a website. Okay, let's make a website where we make digital versions of these, and we actually do these resources up and take it a little bit more seriously. As I was saying, we love the workshops. We're going to keep doing the workshops, but you can't scale those. The workshops are really dependent on Leila and myself being there and doing the content, right? And that's awesome. That if you want to have a super successful business, it's very hard to do that where it relies on you being there to do every single workshop, right? You could create a business where you have other people doing that for sure. But in terms of the viability of that as a long-term and full-time project, I mean, you want other things going on and you want things happening in the background that can still provide value for more students, by the way. You can only speak to 15 at a time with the workshops, right? So we're like, how do we reach more people and create something a little bit more financially viable, right? So yes, money is a factor, but certainly at the forefront of our minds was how do we get these out to as many people as we can?
Distribution was the key point. It was capped at how many people could actually access the workshops, who could travel there, who had means of traveling there, and through distributing the resources in this way, it made our work more accessible to a much larger target audience. So it wasn't only the viability of the business model, but also the fact that it enabled reach, which was so important to us, especially now when we look at the YouTube channel itself and how many people subscribe to it. It's much more than the 16 kids we had sitting in the lecture room.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Leila and I are at uni during this whole process. So this is a side hustle. We did the holiday workshops together for fun because we loved it. We shared that passion. We still do them. And that's something, that I'll cherish forever. And it was a side hustle though. We were at uni and then the resource thing.
Studying full-time.
Yeah, studying full-time load, didn't reduce the load at all, and still did all of our heavy private tutoring load, which we still do today.
Yeah, still
crazy.
A lot of work when I think back to it.
Yeah, it was. And it was a busy time, but such a fun time. we're doing that as a side hustle. So because it's on the side, you want to try and generate something that can reach more people, as we said, but that can also generate this almost kind of passive income. This was my mindset, right? So we can put out the resources. They were very cheap when they first came out. This was for the old syllabus. We've done a whole revamp of it now, and this is on our website of Ignite HSC.
Yeah.
But we had a different website back in the day, right, which is now not there. And they were more simpler, but still very practical resources. And people could just download them. And they were like kind of...
Structure is the same. Yeah.
Exactly. So we had them and we were trying to build that. And then that went quite well. That was very fun doing that. I mean, I'm trying to remember how many copies we sold or whatever. I'll tell you an insight into how I was managing it as well. It was like when people signed up, every time we got one sign up, I'd get a notification on our email, and then I would have to send like these codes to the students to open it, right? So I'd have all these codes downloaded in the notes section of my phone, and every time we got it, like wherever I was, I just had to quickly send it so it didn't seem like, because I didn't know how to automate it. I tried to build a very basic site myself. I'm not an expert at this at all.
Yes, this is actually a really important point to make. Like Jonny built the online side of the business completely on his own. So in addition to
with your help with all the content and the editing and everything.
The content, I kind of took the lead content in that way. But in terms of the absolute construction of the website, Jonny's self-taught. So I think we can mention what we're both studying. We're both doing law degrees at the time. Very, very heavy workload. And Jonny would be up at all hours learning coding to create the website.
Look, not coding. I appreciate the flattering comments.
Look, I don't know anything about technology, so it seemed really big to me.
YouTube's amazing, and WordPress. I was using WordPress. It makes it so easy for you. So yes, there was a lot of time invested into like doing the steps, but I'm certainly no coder. It's amazing what it is, but look, it was great. Yes, build the website.
There we go.
I'm just saying technology was on my side in this endeavor, and I didn't have to go and learn how to become a professional coder.
You're being humble for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
For now. Okay. So anyway, that's going on. We built this website, and then that was for the old syllabus. When we saw that had some success, and I forget how many people, hundreds of people were buying the resources, right, for the old syllabus, and this was just a side thing that we did. We were still doing the holiday workshops. Moving forward, I think it was in 2016 or 2018, they've announced that there's a new English syllabus, right? So all new text. So Leila and I download this, we see it, I'm like, this is a huge opportunity.
Huge.
Let's make a proper online resource platform with the resources for the new syllabus, and we'll be the leaders in the content there. We'll do what we've already kind of started with the old syllabus. We'll make it even better, more comprehensive, and that will be our main thing. That will be on the centralized platform. And again, we keep running the workshops on the side. That's part of the business. But we started to move deeper into the resources and kind of mapped out. We looked at all the text, mapped out how we were going to execute it, and suddenly got this huge team. It wasn't just me and you doing the resources.
It started to grow. So it started to mean that we had to kind of relinquish our total control over aspects of the course material, and we would get in touch with some HSC markets we had on board, and we had some heads of English in the state, and we had a lot of state rank achieving students, and we would approach them, and we developed, a structure that we wanted for all of our resources that, again, kind of had at its locus the way we would run the workshops. It kind of harked back to the structure there. All of the points that we would make in the workshops, where we would go about the analysis, the exemplar essays, and really what we thought we brought in terms of the uniqueness of what we offered was the practical insight. Even the rhetoric we use in the resources, the way that we emphasize the actual deconstruction of analysis and so on, we focalized all of that, and we got a bigger team on board, and we started drafting these resources for all of these new texts, which was a huge process. So how many resources do we have?
Yeah, look, for English, because we wanted to cover standard, advanced, and extension 1.
Right, yep.
And then we covered almost all of the subjects that were done by most schools. So when I say subjects, I mean texts, right, and modules. So we made sure we covered all of the prescribed texts that were done by, about 90% of schools. So a huge amount of resources. If I'm thinking back to it, I mean, it must be over, it was close to like 40 individual packages that we had to put together when you add up standard, advanced, maybe about 50 English-based packages. They were all their own resource. And we had a team of over 20 to 30, it must have been about 30 content creators who played a role in the development of this, which was amazing. So we were kind of coordinating that.
Yes. So what we had was like a system where we had these students or ex-students that were constructing the resources and teachers and so on, and then we would oversee them. And if you haven't actually downloaded the resources, these are like 50 to 60 pages worth of content.
Some are
at
120,
least.
100.
Yeah, the Mod A ones are significantly longer. But this, like, to give you scope, this is how much content now we were starting to filter through with. So it started off with the one workshop, the one Che Guevara resource that was, I don't know, 40 pages, and then suddenly,
if that. I mean, even
that.
20 sometimes. It was just your tabled analysis.
That's right. And now you expand it, and there is a whole new syllabus, this multiplicity of text, hundreds of pages of analysis, and suddenly that's what we had created.
Yeah, so suddenly, years on, I'm trying to give them a timeline here. I mean, we started doing those workshops, we probably should have said at the start, when we first got together.
2017, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was in December 2016
Yes, that's right.
that we started putting out emailing people and notifying people about the workshops.
It was.
And then in 27, so the summer of 2016, 2017 was the very beginning.
Yes, so we ran the workshops.
That's right.
The first group.
Running the workshops, we keep doing those a couple of holidays, and then when it gets to the end of 2017, I believe, and into 2018, that's when we're investing more time and energy and money into the creation of the actual resources for the new syllabus.
That's right.
And that went on into 2019, which I
Even
believe
last
was the
year.
first.
Last year,
Even
yeah.
last year, we were
Years.
still creating. So literally at least 2 years of time where we were putting together all of this content for the English platform as it is now, right? And it's only just recently that we've kind of got to the point where we don't really need to make any more resources for English.
That's right. Whilst during this time, still running the workshops, still getting the YouTube channel up and going, and getting in contact with schools and so on that also become part of the process.
Yeah, and I feel like, look, just touched on YouTube, what you're watching right now, you can go back and see. I'd love to. I don't know the exact first video date, but there was I don't know when the idea actually was incepted, but there was a time when doing the YouTube made sense. You probably remember, I was a big fan of Gary Vee, still am, if any of you know Gary Vaynerchuk, right? He's this guy I watched, a bit of a media guru, right?
We met him, actually. We went to see him.
We met him from afar, but we did see him at one point. He's someone who I used to watch a lot on YouTube, very inspiring in terms of media. And he had said so much, you've got to have your own YouTube channel. You've got to do everything. You've got to be on Instagram, Facebook, and all of this social media has been a huge part of the journey. So we've had our own YouTube channel, and while we were doing, I know we're emphasizing all this stuff we were doing, right? We still made a lot of other time, and we were just chipping away at this gradually. It's not like we were working like horses all day, every day on Ignite.
I think it comes a point, though, where it was almost second nature. I think when you have your own business, you never really leave that work. It kind of becomes inherent to your lifestyle.
Yes.
So it doesn't really feel like work in a way.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, Jonny especially, and we both constantly had emails coming through our phone. There was always a resource we were working on.
Yeah.
There was always a workshop we were working towards. So I think anyone who is looking to start up a business in this way, it becomes inherent to who you are as a person, the amount of work that you start doing for it.
Yeah, and it should already kind of be inherent to who you are as a
That's
person
right.
is the key point.
Yeah.
If you're hating it, then you're probably doing the wrong thing.
That's right.
But Leila and I both love this, right?
Yeah.
We love this field, this educational experience, and especially when the YouTube videos came in and we started recording all of this free content for our audience because, as Gary would say, we wanted to put out our best content for free in video form. Everyone can watch it. We start finding out that it's being used in schools, which is amazing, so flattering. People are telling us that, hey, I saw you in our classroom, or our teacher gave us a link to your video for homework. People are watching the videos we're doing on some of the texts and modules for the course. Incredibly flattering. One of the best feelings is getting those emails where people say, hey, I used your YouTube videos. That means they didn't pay a cent, and weirdly enough, this makes me even more happy when they've gone through the course, they've used free content. It shows we really did try and put out free value. We still try and do that without expectation. Yes, we love people to sign up to the resources. You invest so much money, time, and energy. A lot of time as well, because we're not really paying ourselves for a lot of this process, right? You're investing all of that, paying all of these contractors to do it. It's great to have the resources, but when you can afford to give out free content, your best stuff you're passionate about, like you see us in our videos, that's the best feeling when you get that positive feedback, and it really keeps you going.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, a lot of the ethos behind how Jonny and I both work is to kind of democratize access to education in a way, right? Because unfortunately, a lot of the way that the HSC works, and I know this is a controversial claim, but it's often who has access to means to get their tutors or to go to a really good school, and unfortunately, it happens to be the way that those people who are part of certain social groups or certain elite classes are doing better in the HSC. And that's something that, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me as a person. So through having free content out there, and we get emails from people who aren't at the top private schools or at selective schools, and they say, we got a band 6 and your resources helped us or your videos helped us, that is honestly why we do what we do. And it's the most fulfilling thing. So that element in our ethos of democratizing education in a way is so crucial to what we do. And I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, no, I'm proud as well. And, I don't want it to sound like we've done it all for free. Of course. You need to have money to...
critique that.
Yeah, that's right. I'll just address that critic now. You still need to have money in the business to afford to make more value. We have to pay, we got Flynn behind the camera. You've got to pay for the camera work, the editing. We have to pay people a lot of money. If you want to get the best people to produce the content that you're looking for, and we wanted to have content that actually stands out, you've got to pay them.
That's right.
You can't just expect everyone to do it like yourself when you have an interest in the actual business, right, in the profits. You can't expect people to just do it for free.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of money to afford to keep doing that and to keep cycling out and funneling out new value for everyone out there.
Yeah.
You just need money to come into the business so you can afford to pay others. So, that's kind of how we look at it. That's how I look at it, at least. You need money in the business. It's basically going to keep you afloat, right?
Yeah.
Without it, you're not going to have a business that's actually successful. Very hard to have a good business where it makes no revenue.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah.
The point is, we're very proud of the free content we've done on the YouTube. We're proud that as part of selling our resources, we've done a lot of work with schools, just to quickly mention that, where we've sold packages to schools, and students are getting access to our resources for incredibly low prices, right? Compared to what you may have to pay if you're an individual subscriber, right? So if your school gets on board, you definitely get a great deal. Sometimes schools are paying on behalf of their students, which is amazing. There's government grants out there for, resources for a lot of schools where if they need extra money to help push kids into higher bands, they can get access to that. So that's been an incredible part of the journey as well. That brings us to kind of the present, where we've got this online platform. We're still doing our YouTube videos. It's been an incredible ride. I've just finished 6 years of university. How long were you at uni? 5, 6?
5, 6, yeah.
5 or 6?
Yeah.
We're both kind of finished.
I've lost count.
5 to 6 years of doing our uni degree while doing this. And, I think we both feel this way. Such a memorable experience. One of the most memorable aspects of my university experience was meeting Leila and actually building the business together. And I'm so grateful for it. It's been such a brilliant experience and so rewarding. We've tapped into our passions, and to share that with someone, and I'll just add this point, to share that is so special, especially when you go into this kind of partnership into a business where a friendship wasn't pre-existing, right? I think that's something unique about us is the friendship came out of going into this, this field together. So we kind of developed a partnership, and from that, and it was instant, but we developed this amazing friendship together through that. And I think that gets past some of the risks that happen when people are already friends and then go into business together.
Yeah, and I think respecting that friendship and having that mutual respect is super important to actually being successful. I mean, you hear so many stories. I mean, doing law, half the cases we read about were partnerships breaking down, be it in a business or often in business settings. So that mutual respect, and I think the backbone of the business in having that friendship and always coming back to that whenever there were moments of dispute, which are inevitable when you're running a business, but having that crucial communication.
Let's speak on that.
And having that mutual connection and the respect is so important to keeping the business running. But I will also add, for those people who are embarking on their university journey, it's not just about your studies. Obviously, studies are important, but so much of uni is being able to have access to a much broader pool of people, right? When you're at school, you're in such an insular environment. Meeting Jonny, knowing the kind of diversity in the background that he came from, his approach to teaching, that was really enriching for me. And I think building a business with someone that you have that common interest in, and then you're able to build a friendship through that as well through the process, is just priceless. So for those who are at uni, meet new people. It might not come to the same extent that this came to, like that might not be what you're looking for. But my point is to get out there, meet new people, respect their diversity, get to know them, and you won't believe what will come from that within your uni experience as well.
That's right. So unless you have any other comments to add, I mean, it's been a nice reflecting upon the journey, the origins. Now, all of you know, I know we were rambling and going on tangents a little bit here, but so much ground covered in the last few years. If we think back to 2017 up to 2021, we're going into year 4 on this journey. Was that 2017, 18, 19, 20? Going into year 5. 5 years into the journey, right? There is a lot of ground to cover, whether it was the YouTube, the workshops, how we met, the resources, how the resources developed, how we did that alongside uni, incredible aspects to this, and then working, with schools and the friendship that evolved. There's so many positives to reflect on when we think about this business that is Ignite now, and it's been amazing. I'm so grateful for the journey. It's been so good to share it with you, Lails.
Yeah, thanks, Jonny.
It's a pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about it.
Yeah, and for those wondering, nothing happened between Jim and I or Jonny and I. We've had that question quite a few times, but in a rather feminist ending to this tale, I've come through with an incredible business partner and a great business to share, but I thought we should do the full circle there and come back to
come back to Jim. Thank you, Jim. That's what this video is dedicated to, right? Jim out there, if you're watching it, thank you very much for introducing me to Leila. Obviously, it's changed the course of my life, literally. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in another video.
Thanks, guys, for watching.